The first time they stole her prosthetic leg, it wasn't just a prank. It was a declaration of war. But they didn't know one thing. Her father wasn't just a dad. He was Special Forces, and he doesn't play by their rules. From which country are you enjoying this story? Make sure to tell us in the comments, and subscribe for the explosive showdown you won't see coming.
The first time they took her leg, it wasn't just a prank. It was war. Mia Carter adjusted the strap of her backpack and took a slow breath, her fingers lingering on the familiar weight of the bag. The front doors of Oak Ridge High loomed ahead, massive and impersonal, swallowing students whole as they laughed and shoved their way inside. She could already feel the eyes on her. Not on her, on the leg. The sleek black carbon fiber prosthetic, custom-made for running, for basketball, for everything she refused to let them take from her. A gust of wind kicked up, sending a few dead leaves skittering across the pavement. She shifted her weight, the quiet whir of the hydraulic knee adjusting seamlessly. She'd had this leg for 2 years now, long enough that most days, she barely thought about it. But today wasn't most days. Today was the first day at a new school, and first days meant stairs. She stepped forward, her gait smooth, practiced. A few heads turned. A couple of whispers slithered through the air. "Did you see? Asterisk, robot leg or something? Asterisk. Asterisk, weird. Asterisk." Mia kept her chin up. She'd heard worse. Inside, the halls were a blur of lockers and loud voices. She found her homeroom without issue, slid into an empty seat near the back. The teacher, a tired-looking man with a coffee stain on his tie, barely glanced at her as he called roll. "Carter, Mia? Here." A few kids twisted in their seats to look. She met their eyes, one by one, until they turned away. First period passed without incident. So did second. By lunch, she almost let herself relax. Almost. The cafeteria was chaos. Shouting, the clatter of trays, the smell of overcooked pizza. She grabbed her food and scanned the room for a quiet corner. That's when she saw him. Jace Donovan. Even if she hadn't recognized him from the school's Instagram page, because of course she'd stalked it last night, she would have known him by the way the room bent around him. Star quarterback. Perfect hair. Smile like a knife. He held court at the center table, surrounded by his usual crew. Jocks, rich kids, the kind of people who'd never had to fight for anything in their lives. Mia turned away, headed for the emptiest table she could find. She'd barely taken 2 bites when the shadow fell over her. "You're the new girl, right?" She looked up. Jace, flanked by 2 guys she didn't know. All 3 of them grinning in a way that didn't reach their eyes. "Yeah," she said, keeping her voice flat. One of the guys, blonde, with too much gel in his hair, leaned in. "How fast can you run with that thing?" A beat of silence. Mia set her fork down. "Faster than you." The table behind them erupted in laughter. Jace's smile didn't waver. "We'll see." Then they were gone, leaving her with a cold knot in her stomach. She should have known then. Gym class was 3rd period. She changed in the stall, like always. Left her leg propped against the wall while she pulled on her shorts. When she turned back, gone. Her stomach dropped. She checked the locker. Nothing. The bench. The floor. The room was empty. Then the PA crackled to life. "Looking for something, cripple?" Jace's voice, echoing through the entire school. The laughter followed, rolling down the halls like a wave. Mia's hands clenched. The principal's office was worse. Hargrove, a balding man with the energy of a deflating balloon, sighed when she limped in, leaning heavily on the crutch the nurse had given her. "Ms. Carter," he said, not looking up from his computer. "What seems to be the problem?" She told him, watched his expression flicker from disinterest to mild annoyance. "Boys will be boys," he said finally, rubbing his temples. "I'll have a word with Jace, but really, maybe don't leave your equipment lying around next time." Her mom was waiting in the parking lot when the final bell rang. Took one look at Mia's face and knew. They took it. Mia nodded, throat tight. Lisa Carter's jaw set. "We're filing a complaint. This is unacceptable." But Mia knew. Complaints didn't scare kids like Jace. Her phone buzzed in her pocket as they pulled out of the lot. Unknown number. She opened it. A photo. Her leg, dangling over the school pool. The caption, "Jump in and get it." Then, another text. This one from her dad. Asterisk on my way. Tell them the reckoning comes at 3 p.m. Asterisk. Mia stared at her father's text, fingers tightening around the phone. She knew that tone, knew what it meant. Her mom glanced over from the driver's seat. Everything okay? Mia locked the screen. Dad's coming. Lisa's grip on the steering wheel shifted. Just slightly. When? Today. A beat of silence. Then her mom exhaled, long and slow. Well, that's that then. Mia almost smiled. Almost. Jace Donovan didn't think about Mia Carter for the rest of the day. Why would he? She was just another nobody, another body to step over on his way to the top. By afternoon practice, he'd forgotten her name. His phone buzzed mid-drill. A text from Ryan, his tight end. Check the pool. Jace frowned, trotted over to the edge where the water glinted under the late sun. And there it was, her leg, just like he'd left it, propped against the diving board like some kind of trophy. He grinned, snapped a pic and sent it to the group chat with the caption, "Who's gonna tell her it's chlorine-proof?" Laughs all around. Coach blew the whistle. Jace tucked his phone away and got back to work. Mia sat on the couch, knee bouncing, eyes locked on the clock. 2:47 p.m. Her mom hovered in the kitchen, pretending not to watch the time. The front door opened at 2:53. No knock, no warning, just the quiet click of the latch, the shift of air as he stepped inside. Khalid Carter wasn't a big man. Not in the way people expected. No hulking muscles, no scars on his face. Just lean, coiled strength, and eyes that missed nothing. He set his duffel by the door. Looked at Mia. "Show me." She handed him her phone. Watched his face as he scrolled through the messages. His expression didn't change. That was worse. Lisa spoke first. "Khalid, I'll handle it." He handed the phone back. "Mia. Jacket." She stood. "They're at practice." "I know." The football field was chaos. Whistles, shouts, the thud of pads colliding. Jace was mid-sprint when he saw her. Mia, standing at the fence, on crutches, and beside her, the man was a shadow. Ill. Watching. Jace slowed. The hell? Ryan jogged up beside him, panting. Dude, that her dad? Coach noticed. Strode over. Frown deepening. Can I help you? Khalid didn't move. You the coach? Yeah. And you are? Khalid Carter. A beat. Mia's father. Something in his voice made the hairs on Jace's neck stand up. Coach shifted. Look, if this is about earlier. It is. Khalid's gaze slid past him. Landed on Jace. You. Jace straightened. Yeah. You took my daughter's leg. A few snickers from the team. Jace smirked. Just messing around. No big deal. Khalid didn't blink. Get it. Silence. Jace scoffed. Or what? Khalid stepped forward. Just one step. But the air changed. Or I show you what happens when someone takes something of mine. The afternoon sun hung heavy over Oak Ridge High as Mia sat rigid on her living room couch, her phone burning a hole in her palm. The digital clock on the cable box ticked from 2:46 to 2:47 p.m. Each passing minute stretched tighter than the strap of her prosthetic used to be. Her mother moved quietly through the kitchen, the clink of glassware betraying her nervous energy. Did he say when exactly? The front door opened at 2:53 p.m. No knock, no jingle of keys. Just the smooth whisper of the well-oiled hinge and the subtle shift in air pressure that meant only one thing. Khalid Carter didn't enter spaces. He occupied them. Mia's breath caught as her father stepped inside, his shadow stretching long across the hardwood floor. He wasn't a large man by conventional standards, maybe 5 feet 10 inches in his worn combat boots, but something about the way he carried himself made doorways seem to shrink. His dark jeans and black Henley clung to lean muscle earned through years of force marches and tactical drills rather than vanity gym sessions. The duffel bag hit the floor with a muffled thump of heavy contents. Khalid's eyes found Mia's immediately, That unnerving ability of his to bypass all pretense and see straight to the core of things. "Show me," he said, voice low and rough like gravel under tank treads. Mia unlocked her phone with slightly trembling fingers, the cracked screen displaying the humiliating image of her $25,000 prosthetic leg dangling over the school pool like some sick trophy. She watched her father's face as he scrolled through the messages, but his expression remained as unreadable as it had been the day he taught her to reassemble her first prosthetic at age 7. All quiet focus and contained energy. Lisa stepped forward, her nurse's scrubs rustling. "Khalid, the school administration." "I'll handle it." He handed the phone back to Mia with deliberate care. "Jacket. Now." The weight of those 2 words settled over the room. Mia knew better than to argue when her father used that tone. The one that had once made a Libyan warlord surrender his sidearm without a shot fired. She grabbed her hoodie from the couch arm, the crutches they'd given her at the nurse's office leaning against the coffee table. Lisa caught Khalid's arm as he turned. "You can't just. Watch me." There was no malice in his voice, just the calm certainty of a man who'd extracted comrades from far worse situations than suburban high school politics. "This ends today." The drive to Oak Ridge High passed in silence, the only sound the rhythmic tap of Mia's fingers against her thigh and the occasional crunch of gravel beneath the tires as Khalid took the back roads. Mia studied her father's profile, the faint scar along his jawline from a roadside bomb outside Mosul, the way his hands rested light on the wheel at exactly 9 and 3 even in civilian life. "You remember what I taught you about asymmetrical warfare?" Khalid asked suddenly as the school came into view. Mia blinked. When the opponent has greater resources, you change the rules of engagement." Khalid parallel parked with military precision. "These kids think they're playing keep away with a toy. We're about to educate them." The football field buzzed with afternoon practice, the rhythmic thud of pads and Coach Miller's whistle cutting through the autumn air. Jace Donovan was running drills with the first-string offense when movement at the perimeter fence caught his eye. Mia Carter, on crutches, standing next to. Jace slowed to a walk, squinting against the sun. The man beside her wasn't particularly imposing at first glance, dressed in civilian clothes with his hands in his pockets. But something about his posture, the way he stood perfectly still while everything moved around him, set off primitive alarm bells in Jace's hindbrain. "Yo, Donovan, you gonna finish the damn drill or what?" Coach bellowed. Jace shook it off. Probably just some social worker or whatever. He trotted back to the line, but kept glancing toward the fence. Coach Miller noticed the visitors and stomped over, his clipboard clutched like a shield. "Can I help you folks?" Khalid didn't extend his hand. "You the coach?" "Yeah, and you are?" "Khalid Carter." A beat. Mia's father. The way he said it, not an introduction but a statement of fact, made several nearby players stop mid-drill. Jace felt Ryan nudge his shoulder pad. "Dude, that her dad?" Jace rolled his eyes. "So?" Coach shifted his weight. "Look, if this is about earlier." "It is." Khalid's gaze slid past him like a targeting laser, locking onto Jace. "You." Jace sauntered over, helmet tucked under his arm, oozing the cocky assurance that came from being 6 feet 2 inches, 210 pounds of Division I prospect. "Yeah. You took my daughter's leg." A few teammates snickered. Jace smirked, glancing at his buddies for support. "Just messing around. No big deal." Khalid didn't blink. "Get it?" Silence rippled across the field. Even the assistant coaches stopped what they were doing. Jace's smile faltered for half a second before he recovered. "Or what?" Khalid stepped forward. Just one smooth, controlled movement. But the entire energy of the field shifted. The players nearest them unconsciously backed up half a step. "Or I demonstrate what happens when someone takes something that belongs to me." The words weren't loud. They weren't even particularly threatening in tone. But something in Khalid's delivery, the absolute certainty behind them, turned Jace's mouth dry. For the first time in his privileged life, Jace Donovan felt the cold prickle of real fear. Coach Miller cleared his throat. "Now let's all just." "Practice ends at 3:45, Khalid said, cutting him off without raising his voice. "You have until then to return my daughter's property, undamaged." Jace forced a laugh. "And if we don't?" Khalid finally smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Then I start taking things that belong to you." The way he said it, calm as a man ordering coffee, made several players exchange nervous glances. Khalid turned to Mia. "Let's go." As they walked away, Jace called after them, voice cracking slightly. "You can't threaten me, man. My father's district attorney." "I know." Khalid didn't even turn around. "Ask him what happens when federal contractors file complaints about stolen medical equipment." Clock's ticking, Donovan. The drive home was silent until Mia finally whispered, "Dad? What if they don't?" "They will." Khalid's knuckles whitened slightly on the wheel. "Because at 3:46, if that leg isn't on our doorstep, the next conversation won't be with the children. It'll be with their parents." Mia swallowed hard. She'd seen her father angry before. The cold, controlled fury that had made hardened soldiers back down. But this was different. This was personal. At exactly 3:42 p.m., the doorbell rang. The doorbell rang at precisely 3:42 p.m., 3 minutes before Khalid's deadline. Mia's crutches thumped against the hardwood as she moved toward the front door, but her father's hand on her shoulder stopped her. "Wait here," Khalid said, his voice low. He moved to the side window, angling his body to see the porch without being seen. A muscle in his jaw twitched. "It's not them." Mia frowned, hobbling closer. "Then who?" The doorbell rang again, followed by a sharp knock. "Mr. Carter? This is Principal Hargrove. We need to talk." Khalid exhaled through his nose, the way he always did when a situation was unfolding exactly as he'd predicted. He opened the door to reveal not just the principal, but Coach Miller and a red-faced man in an expensive suit who could only be Jace Donovan's father. The district attorney pushed past Hargrove, his Italian loafers clicking on the entryway tile. "What the hell kind of threat did you make to my son?" Khalid remained perfectly still, his body positioned between the visitors and Mia. "The kind that got my daughter's property returned." He glanced at the empty space behind them. "Though I don't see it with you." Hargrove mopped his brow with a monogrammed handkerchief. "Mr. Carter, surely we can discuss this like reasonable." "Where's the leg?" Khalid interrupted, his voice like steel wrapped in velvet. The district attorney's face darkened. "My son is a minor. Any perceived prank doesn't warrant some mercenary coming onto school property and..." "Perceived prank?" Mia's voice cracked across the room. She hopped forward on one leg, gripping the doorframe for balance. "They took my prosthetic. Do you have any idea what it's like to..." "Mia!" Khalid's quiet tone stopped her mid-sentence. He kept his eyes locked on the district attorney. "You have 30 seconds to tell me where my daughter's medical device is before I call Colonel James at the VA and file a theft report for government-issued equipment." The color drained from the district attorney's face. "That's... You can't possibly..." 25 seconds. Coach Miller cleared his throat. "It's at the school. In my office." Khalid nodded once. "We'll follow you there." The ride to Oak Ridge High was silent except for the rhythmic tap of Mia's fingers against her cast. She studied her father's profile, the way his eyes constantly scanned mirrors and intersections, the relaxed readiness in his shoulders that never quite went away, even in civilian life. "You registered my leg with the VA?" she asked quietly. Khalid's mouth twitched. "No, but he doesn't know that." The school parking lot was nearly empty when they arrived, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the asphalt. Principal Hargrove led them through side doors to avoid the main office, his keys jingling with nervous energy. Coach Miller's office smelled of stale coffee and sweat socks. Mia's prosthetic leaned against the filing cabinet, the carbon fiber gleaming under fluorescent lights. At first glance, it appeared undamaged. But Mia saw immediately what the others didn't: the slight misalignment of the knee joint, the scratched socket where they'd clearly tried to force it onto someone else. Khalid noticed too. His breathing changed, just slightly, the way it had when he'd found shrapnel in her prosthetic after that IED demonstration at the VA hospital last year. The district attorney crossed his arms. "There. Property returned. Now about your unprofessional conduct." "Try it on," Khalid said to Mia, ignoring him completely. Mia blinked. "What?" "Show them what they've done." Understanding dawned. Mia reached for the prosthetic, but the district attorney stepped between them. "This has gone far enough." My son made a mistake, but... Your son, Khalid said softly, committed felony theft of medical equipment worth over $20,000. That's before considering the ADA violations. He tilted his head. How many votes did you win by last election? 300. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Mia had never seen a man's face change color so quickly. Principal Hargrove cleared his throat. Perhaps we should let Mia. Mia took the prosthetic and sat in Miller's chair. With practice movements, she rolled up her pant leg and fitted the socket over her residual limb. The moment she engaged the locking mechanism, she knew something was wrong. The usual smooth hydraulic resistance was jerky, uneven. She stood, took 2 steps, and nearly fell when the knee joint seized. Khalid caught her elbow without looking, his attention still fixed on the district attorney. Seems damaged, Khalid observed mildly. I wonder what the insurance assessor will say. The district attorney's jaw worked. What do you want? 3 things. Khalid held up fingers. 1. The names of every student involved. 2. A public apology during tomorrow's assembly. 3. His eyes locked onto the district attorney's. Your son spends the next month doing community service at the Walter Reed Amputee Clinic. You can't be serious. Khalid didn't blink. I'm told your office is considering a run for state senate. Imagine the headlines. DA's son targets disabled veteran's daughter. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the ticking of the wall clock seemed to hesitate. Principal Hargrove swallowed audibly. Mr. Donovan, perhaps we should. The district attorney's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, his face going pale. When he looked up at Khalid, there was something new in his eyes. Something like fear. How did you? Khalid simply waited. 30 minutes later, Mia sat in the passenger seat, her damaged prosthetic across her lap. The signed agreement, listing all their demands, rested in the glove box. She studied her father's profile as he navigated evening traffic with the same precision he did everything. Who texted him? She asked. Khalid didn't smile, but the corner of his mouth twitched. Old friend at the Washington Post. Mia shook her head. You were bluffing about the VA thing. Never bluff, Khalid said softly. Just demonstrate consequences. As they pulled into their driveway, Mia noticed the curtains twitch in Mrs. Peterson's house across the street. By morning, the entire neighborhood would know. By Monday, the whole school. For the first time since she'd transferred to Oak Ridge, Mia Carter smiled. The morning air carried a biting chill as Mia stepped out of her father's truck, the new prosthetic leg whirring softly with each movement. The titanium alloy gleamed under the harsh fluorescent lights of the school parking lot, an upgrade courtesy of the district attorney's donation to cover the accidental damage. Remember, Khalid said, killing the engine but making no move to exit the vehicle. Today changes nothing unless you make it change. Mia adjusted the strap of her backpack. I know. It's not over just because they... A sharp rap on the passenger window made them both turn. Jace Donovan stood outside, his Letterman jacket swapped for the plain white polo shirt mandated by the school's dress code. Dark circles hung under his bloodshot eyes. Khalid rolled down the window just enough to let sound through. Problem. Jace's throat worked as he swallowed. My dad made me come early to... His gaze flicked to Mia. I'm supposed to show you where they set up for the assembly. Khalid studied him for 3 heartbeats before nodding to Mia. Go. I'll be in the auditorium. The walk through empty hallways was painfully silent. Jace kept his distance, shoulders hunched like he expected to be struck. When they passed the pool area, Mia deliberately slowed her pace, watching his reaction from the corner of her eye. His breath hitched. They really made you go to the amputee center yesterday? Mia asked, breaking the silence. Jace flinched. 4 hours. His voice was hoarse. They made me. I had to help with. He swallowed hard, his tan complexion turning slightly green at whatever memory surfaced. Mia said nothing. Let him sit with it. The auditorium doors loomed ahead. Jace stopped walking. Look, about the thing with your leg. Save it for the microphone, Mia said, pushing past him. The new prosthetic responded perfectly, adjusting to her gait without the slightest hesitation. She didn't look back to see if he followed. Inside, the stage was set with a single podium flanked by Principal Hargrove and Coach Miller. The district attorney stood off to the side, his expensive suit failing to disguise the tension in his posture. He was arguing in hushed tones with a woman Mia recognized as the school board president. The first students began trickling in, their whispers rising to a dull roar as they spotted Mia taking a reserved seat in the front row. She kept her back straight, chin lifted, acutely aware of hundreds of eyes boring into her. Khalid slipped into the seat beside her just as the bell rang. "They're stalling," he murmured. Principal Hargrove approached the microphone, his usual bluster replaced by nervous energy. "Students, faculty, we've called this special assembly to address an incident that occurred last week." Mia tuned out the sanitized version of events, focusing instead on scanning the crowd. Ryan and the rest of Jace's crew sat slumped in their seats, looking anywhere but at the stage. A few rows back, she noticed Emily Torres, a quiet sophomore who walked with a forearm crutch, watching with unusual intensity. "And so, we believe in learning from our mistakes," Hargrove concluded, mopping his brow. Jace Donovan would like to say a few words. The auditorium erupted in murmurs as Jace shuffled to the podium. His hands trembled visibly as he unfolded a sheet of paper. The district attorney hovered just behind him, jaw clenched. Jace's voice cracked. He cleared his throat. "I want to apologize to Mia Carter for my actions last Thursday." The words sounded rehearsed, forced. It was insensitive and... "Louder," Khalid said. "Just loud enough to carry to the stage." Jace flinched. He straightened slightly. "It was cruel and wrong to take your prosthetic leg." This time the words carried to the back rows. "I didn't understand how important it was until..." His gaze flicked to his father, then away. "Until I had to spend time at the rehabilitation center." A ripple went through the crowd. Mia saw Emily Torres sit up straighter. The district attorney stepped forward, placing a hand on Jace's shoulder. "We're all very sorry for this misunderstanding." Misunderstanding? Mia's voice cut through the auditorium before she realized she'd stood. The microphone at her seat amplified her words. "You mean when your son and his friends held my $22,000 medical device over the pool and told me to jump in after it? That misunderstanding?" The room went deathly quiet. Even the teachers stopped whispering. Khalid made no move to intervene, but Mia felt his silent approval like a physical presence. Jace's face had gone chalk white. "We?" He looked at his father, then at Principal Hargrove, both of whom were glaring at him. Something in his expression shifted. When he spoke again, his voice was clearer. "No, she's right. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was bullying. And He took a deep breath. "I'm ashamed of what I did." The district attorney's hand tightened on his son's shoulder hard enough to make Jace wince. "That's enough." "No, it's not." Jace shook off his father's grip. "Starting today, I'm volunteering at the Walter Reed Amputee Clinic every afternoon. Anyone who wants to understand why what I did was wrong can come with me." He turned to Mia. "I'll pay to fix your leg, however it needs to be. And I'm sorry." For the first time, the apology sounded real. The district attorney looked apoplectic. Principal Hargrove rushed to the microphone. "Thank you, Jace. We'll take a short recess." "That won't be necessary." Mia limped to the stage, her new prosthetic clicking softly with each step. The auditorium held its collective breath as she took the microphone from Hargrove's limp hand. She turned to face the student body. "My name is Mia Carter. I lost my leg to a congenital defect when I was 5 years old." She tapped her prosthetic. "This isn't a replacement. It's part of who I am. Just like your legs are part of you." A shuffling sound came from the back rows. Emily Torres was on her feet, leaning on her crutch. A few seats over, Carlos Mendez, who wore hearing aids, stood too. Slowly, almost hesitantly, others joined them. Mia felt something tighten in her chest. Jace apologized. "That's a start. But if anyone else here has ever made someone feel less than human because they're different..." She glanced at her father, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. Now would be a good time to make it right. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then Ryan, Jace's best friend and tight end, stood up. "I helped take your leg," he said, voice rough. "I'm sorry too." One by one, others rose. Some apologized. Some just stood in silent solidarity. The district attorney looked ready to explode, but even he couldn't stop what was happening. Principal Hargrove finally regained control of the microphone. "Well, this has been productive. Dismissed to second period." As the students filed out, Mia noticed Emily Torres waiting near the stage steps. The younger girl hesitated, then approached. "That was really brave." Mia shrugged. "I just got tired of..." "No, I mean..." Emily lifted her crutch slightly. "Nobody's ever stood up for us before. Not like that." Khalid appeared at Mia's side then, his presence quiet but undeniable. Emily's eyes widened slightly at the sight of him. "You're her dad," she breathed. "The one who made them take responsibility?" Khalid finished. "Yes." He studied Emily for a moment. "You should join Mia at the adaptive martial arts class I teach on Saturdays." Emily's face lit up. "Really? I can do that?" Mia found herself smiling. "Yeah, you can." As they walked out, Mia spotted Jay surrounded by his usual crowd, but the dynamic had shifted. Ryan was talking animatedly about something, while Jace just nodded, his usual swagger noticeably absent. When he caught Mia looking, he didn't glare or smirk, just gave a small, awkward nod. Khalid held the door open. "They'll test you again," he said quietly. "Not today. Maybe not this week. But eventually." Mia adjusted her backpack strap. "I know. Good." He nodded toward the parking lot. "Let's go. Your new sparring gear came in." As they walked to the truck, Mia realized something had changed. Not just in how others saw her, but in how she saw herself. The leg, the stares, the whispers. They were all just part of her armor now. And armor, as her father had taught her, was meant to be worn proudly. The automatic doors of Walter Reed's Amputee Rehabilitation Center hissed open, and Jace Donovan stepped inside like a man walking into a war zone. His father had dropped him off with a final hissed warning. Asterisk, keep your head down, do the bare minimum, and for God's sake, don't embarrass me further. Asterisk. The smell hit him first. Antiseptic, sweat, and something metallic underneath. The lobby was bright, filled with people moving in ways Jace had never considered. A double amputee in a wheelchair rolled past, balancing a coffee in one hand while maneuvering with the other. A woman with a prosthetic arm adjusted her device effortlessly as she scrolled through her phone. And everywhere, the sounds, clicks, whirs, the occasional thump of a leg being adjusted. A nurse with a clipboard spotted him lingering near the entrance. "You Donovan?" Jace swallowed. "Yeah." She eyed his polo shirt, standard volunteer attire, and the Oak Ridge High logo stitched on the breast pocket. "Follow me." She led him past therapy rooms where patients struggled through exercises, their faces tight with concentration. In one room, a young soldier, couldn't have been older than 20, was learning to walk again on a new prosthetic, his t-shirt soaked with sweat. Jace's stomach twisted. The nurse stopped outside a door labeled asterisk, PT Room 3, Adaptive Training. Asterisk, your job is simple, she said. You fetch water, towels, anything the therapists need. You don't stare. You don't ask invasive questions. And if I hear one single joke about peg legs or RoboCop, you're out. Jace opened his mouth to protest. He wasn't that much of an asshole, but the door swung open before he could speak. Inside, a group of kids, maybe 8 to 12 years old, were sprawled across gym mats, laughing as a therapist demonstrated how to fall safely. And there, in the center, was a little girl, no more than 7, with a pink prosthetic leg, grinning as she attempted a wobbly cartwheel. Jace's breath caught. She looked exactly like his baby sister. Oak Ridge High. Same afternoon. Mia adjusted the straps on her new sparring gloves as Emily Torres limped into the gym, her forearm crutch tapping against the hardwood. You sure this is okay? Emily asked, eyeing the mats Khalid had laid out. I've never done anything like this. Mia tossed her a pair of gloves. First rule of adaptive martial arts. You don't apologize for your body. Khalid, who had been silently observing from the corner, stepped forward. We adapt the techniques to work with your mobility, not against it. He nodded at Emily's crutch. That's a weapon if you know how to use it. Emily blinked. Seriously? Mia smirked. Wait till you see what my dad can do with a prosthetic leg. For the next hour, Khalid walked them through basic stances, adjusting Emily's grip on her crutch for better balance, showing Mia how to pivot on her prosthetic without losing stability. It was during a water break that Emily hesitated, then asked the question Mia had been waiting for. So, what's the deal with Jace now? Is he really at the clinic every day? Mia shrugged. Guess so. Emily chewed her lip. You think he's actually sorry? Before Mia could answer, Khalid spoke from behind them. Does it matter? Both girls turned. Khalid wiped sweat from his brow with a towel. Apologies are words. Change is action. He nodded toward the door. You'll know if he's sorry by what he does next. Mia exchanged a glance with Emily. Her father was right, as usual. But part of her still wondered, what would Jace do next? Walter Reed. Later that night, Jace sat in his father's car, silent as the district attorney ranted about political fallout and damage control. He wasn't listening. All he could see was that little girl's face when she'd fallen during her cartwheel attempt. Not frustrated, not embarrassed, just determined as she pushed herself back up. And the way she'd looked at him when he'd instinctively moved to help. I got it, she'd said, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Like she didn't even consider herself less. His father's voice cut through the memory. And if that Carter girl tries to speak to you again, I'm going back tomorrow, Jace said quietly. The car went silent. What? Jace turned to face his father for the first time since they'd left the clinic. I'm going back. Not because you made me. Because I want to. The district attorney's face darkened. Listen here, you ungrateful little. No. The word came out steadier than Jace felt. You listen. Those kids today, they're braver than I'll ever be. And I mocked someone for dealing with what they live with. He shook his head. I'm done. For a long moment, his father just stared. Then, with a disgusted noise, he turned back to the wheel. You'll regret this. As they pulled away, Jace watched the clinic disappear in the rearview mirror. For the first time in his life, he wasn't so sure. The first time Jace Donovan voluntarily showed up at Walter Reed on a Saturday, the nurses did a double-take. He didn't blame them. 3 weeks ago, he'd been dragged in here like a prisoner to a sentencing. Now he was early, carrying a duffel bag of donated sports equipment his teammates had reluctantly coughed up after he'd threatened to bench them if they didn't contribute. The automatic doors slid open, and the familiar antiseptic smell washed over him. No longer strange, just part of the routine. Donovan. Nurse Patel barely glanced up from her clipboard. Lily's in the gym. She's been asking when you'd get here. Jace's mouth twitched. Lily. The 7-year-old with the pink prosthetic who'd somehow become the little sister he never knew he needed. He found her attempting pull-ups on the parallel bars, her small arms shaking with effort. Her prosthetic leg, sporting a new frozen sticker since last time, dangled slightly as she strained. Elsa wouldn't quit, Jace said, leaning against the doorframe. Lily whipped her head around, her dark braids flying. Jace. She dropped unceremoniously to the mat and hopped toward him. You came back. Something warm settled in his chest. Told you I would. She grabbed his hand, tugging him toward the bars. Help me. I want to do 10 today. As Jay spotted her, a voice spoke behind him. Well, this is unexpected. He turned to find Mia Carter standing there, Emily Torres at her side. Both wore adaptive martial arts gear, their expressions unreadable. Jace wiped his suddenly sweaty palms on his jeans. Carter. Mia studied him for a long moment before nodding at Lily. She yours. The little girl beamed. Jace is teaching me to be strong. She flexed her tiny biceps. Emily's lips twitched. Looks like you're in good hands. An awkward silence fell. Jace cleared his throat. You guys here for? Prosthetic adjustment, Mia said, tapping her leg. Monthly maintenance. Lily's eyes widened. You have a robot leg too? Mia smiled. A real one, not the tight-lipped version Jace had grown accustomed to at school. Yeah. Wanna see the cool part? She hit a release mechanism, and the prosthetic foot rotated 180 degrees, revealing a sleek blade attachment. Lily gasped. Asterisk, so cool. Asterisk. Jace stared. He'd seen Mia's leg around school, of course, but never this close. The engineering was incredible. Carbon fiber, hydraulic joints, what looked like shock absorption tech borrowed from military gear. No wonder his dad had paled when Khalid mentioned government-issued equipment. Emily checked her phone. We should get to our appointment. Mia reattached her foot, hesitating just before they left. You're here every Saturday now? Jace nodded. Yeah, turns out I'm a decent spotter. Another pause. Then, adaptive martial arts class is at 4. If you want to check it out. And with that, she and Emily walked away, leaving Jace staring after them. Lily tugged his sleeve. Who was that? Jace exhaled. That kiddo is someone I really messed with. Lily frowned. Did you say sorry? Yeah. Asterisk mean asterisk it? Jace thought of the assembly, of the clinic, of the way his former friends had slowly stopped sitting with him at lunch. Trying to. Lily nodded sagely. Good. Now lift. She scrambled back onto the bars. Jace shook his head and stepped back into position. Oak Ridge High. Monday morning. Mia was halfway to her locker when she felt it. That prickle on the back of her neck that said watched. She turned. The guy leaning against the water fountain was new. Tall, broad-shouldered, with close-cropped hair and a posture that screamed military brat. He stared at her with an intensity that bordered on uncomfortable. Then he pushed off and walked toward her. Mia Carter, right? His voice was deeper than expected. Mia shifted her weight, instinctively testing her footing. Who's asking? Lucas Grant. He nodded at her leg. Heard about what happened with Donovan. That was some badass shit. Something about his tone set her teeth on edge. It wasn't about being badass. Lucas smirked. Sure. Anyway, thought you should know. Donovan's not your biggest problem anymore. Before Mia could ask what that meant, the first bell rang. Lucas gave her a mock salute and strolled away, leaving her with a sinking feeling in her gut. Emily appeared at her elbow. Who was that? Mia watched Lucas disappear into the crowd. Trouble. Football practice. Same afternoon. Jace was adjusting his pads when Coach Miller approached, looking uncharacteristically hesitant. Donovan. New transfers joining the team. Played linebacker at his last school. He jerked his thumb toward the field. Wants to meet you. Jace followed his gaze and froze. Lucas Grant stood on the 50-yard line, casually tossing a football from hand to hand. When he saw Jace, his smile didn't reach his eyes. Donovan. Heard you've gone soft. The team went quiet. Ryan shifted uncomfortably beside Jace. Jace forced himself to stay calm. Grant. Didn't know you were in town. Lucas's gaze flicked to Jace's Oak Ridge jersey. Dad got stationed at Andrews. Figured I'd see how the new you stacks up. He threw the ball, hard, directly at Jace's chest. Jace caught it on reflex, the impact stinging his palms. Lucas's grin widened. Still got some fight left, huh? As coach blew the whistle to start drills, Ryan pulled Jace aside. Dude, you know him? Jace watched Lucas shoulder check a freshman out of his way. We were at Bragg together when my dad was stationed there. His old man's special forces. Ryan paled. And he's here now? Jace's stomach churned. Lucas Grant didn't just play rough. He lived for it. And if he'd taken an interest in Mia. Keep your head down, Jace muttered. He's worse than I ever was. Khalid's dojo, that evening. Mia was mid-spar with Emily when the bell above the door chimed. She turned, and nearly got knocked off balance by what she saw. Jace Donovan stood in the doorway, duffel bag in hand, shifting uncomfortably under Khalid's assessing gaze. I came to check out the class. If that's still. He trailed off as he spotted Lucas's familiar figure leaning against the far wall. Lucas smirked. Small world. Donovan. Khalid's eyes narrowed slightly. You two know each other? Jace's jaw tightened. Yeah, we do. Lucas pushed off the wall and strolled forward. Donovan here used to be fun before he started babysitting cripples. The dojo went dead silent. Emily flinched. Mia's hands curled into fists. And Khalid moved. 1 second he was across the room. The next, he was right in Lucas's space, his voice dangerously calm. Out. Lucas blinked. What? Khalid didn't raise his voice. This dojo is for those who wish to adapt, not attack. You don't belong here. For a heartbeat, Lucas looked like he might argue. Then something in Khalid's expression made him reconsider. With a scoff, he turned to leave, but not before locking eyes with Mia. This isn't over. The door slammed behind him. Jace exhaled sharply. I should go. Stay. Khalid's tone brooked no argument. You came to train? Then train. As Jace slowly set down his bag, Mia met his gaze. Whatever Lucas Grant was planning, one thing was clear. Things were about to get ugly. The first punch came at 3:17 p.m., just as the final bell's echo faded from Oak Ridge High's emptying hallways. Mia heard the scuffle before she saw it, the sharp crack of knuckles on bone, the grunt of impact. She rounded the corner to find Jace Donovan pinned against the lockers. Lucas Grant's forearm jammed under his chin. Pathetic, Lucas sneered, his biceps flexing as he increased pressure. You used to be somebody. Now you're just Carter's bitch. Jace's face flushed red, but his voice came out steady. Say that again. Without Daddy's rank backing you up. Lucas's fist drew back. Enough. Mia's voice cut through the hallway like a blade. Both boys turned. She stood balanced on the balls of her feet, backpack dangling from one hand, the other loose at her side. Ready. Lucas's lips curled. Look who's here to save you. He released Jace with a shove. How's that prosthetic treating you, Carter? Heard they had to special order it after Donovan's little prank. Mia didn't rise to the bait. Walk away, Grant. Or what? He took a step closer. You'll cry to your mercenary dad again? Behind him, Jace wiped blood from his split lip. Mia, don't. Lucas moved fast. Faster than someone his size should. One moment he was 3 feet away. The next, his hand was snatching Mia's backpack, yanking her off balance. Her prosthetic knee whirred as it compensated, but the damage was done. Her textbook spilled across the floor, her water bottle exploding against the tiles. Silence. Then, click. Mia hit the release mechanism on her prosthetic. The foot detached with a hiss of hydraulics, leaving her holding the carbon fiber limb like a baton. Lucas blinked. You gonna hit me with that? Mia smiled. No. She threw it. Not at Lucas. At the fire alarm behind him. The glass shattered. Sirens wailed. Sprinklers erupted. In the chaos, Mia hopped forward and drove her elbow into Lucas's solar plexus. He doubled over with a whoosh of air, just as Principal Hargrove rounded the corner. The office, 3:42 p.m. Absolutely unacceptable behavior. Hargrove's face matched his crimson tie as he paced behind his desk. Fighting? Destroying school property? Lucas sat perfectly composed, not a hair out of place despite the water dripping from the ceiling. I was defending myself, sir. Donovan attacked me first. Jace stiffened. That's bull. Language. Hargrove snapped. He turned to Mia. And you? Pulling the fire alarm is a felony offense. Mia kept her expression neutral. I didn't pull it. You threw your leg at it. She shrugged. Malfunction. My prosthetic slipped. Hargrove looked ready to explode. The door swung open, and Khalid strode in, followed by a harried-looking secretary. You wanted to see me? His calm voice contrasted sharply with the principal's apoplexy. Hargrove jabbed a finger at Mia. Your daughter assaulted another student and caused thousands in damages. Khalid's eyebrow arched. He turned to Mia. Did you? No. Lucas scoffed. She's lying. There were witnesses. Khalid studied him for a long moment. Then, were there? Something in his tone made Lucas hesitate. The secretary cleared her throat. Principal Hargrove? The security cameras in that hallway were malfunctioning today. Hargrove froze. Asterisk what? Asterisk. Khalid crossed his arms. Convenient. For the first time, Lucas looked uncertain. Jace hid a smirk. The parking lot. 4:30 p.m. Khalid waited until they were out of earshot before speaking. You're getting sloppy. Mia winced. I know. Good. He unlocked the truck. Now you know what happens when emotion overrides strategy. Mia opened her mouth to reply when her phone buzzed. Emily's name flashed on screen, followed by a single text. Check the Oak Ridge gossip page. She tapped the link and froze. There, pinned to the top of the forum, was a photo of Jace carrying Lily on his shoulders at Walter Reed. The caption read, Asterisk, looks like Donovan's found a new cripple to pity. Wonder how long until he gets bored. Asterisk. The comments were worse. Mia's stomach twisted. Dad. Khalid took one look at her face and held out his hand. Give me the phone. Jace's house. 5:15 p.m. The district attorney's mansion was exactly what Mia expected. Gleaming hardwood, tasteful art, and an undercurrent of barely restrained fury. Jace's father didn't rise from his leather chair when they entered. To what do I owe this unexpected visit? Khalid set the printed forum page on the desk. Your problem. The DA barely glanced at it. Online trolls. Hardly my concern. These trolls just targeted a 7-year-old amputee. Khalid's voice could have frozen lava. At your son's expense. Jace chose that moment to appear in the doorway, ice pack pressed to his jaw. His eyes widened at the sight of Mia. What's going on? His father ignored him. If you're implying I had anything to do with, not you. Khalid tapped the photo. Asterisk him. Asterisk. Mia leaned forward. Lucas Grant. The room went still. The DA's expression darkened. Colonel Grant's son? Jace paled. Oh shit. Khalid straightened. The post came from an IP at Andrews Air Force Base. Same housing sector as the Grants. For the first time, the district attorney looked genuinely unsettled. You hacked military servers? No. Khalid smiled thinly. I asked a friend at the Pentagon to check. The unspoken threat hung in the air. Asterisk, I have friends in high places too. Asterisk. Jace's father exhaled sharply. I'll speak to Colonel Grant. That won't be enough. Khalid turned to leave. Homecoming is Friday. Your move. As they reached the door, Jace caught Mia's arm. Lily, is she okay? Mia hesitated. You should check on her. His jaw tightened. I will. Walter Reed. 7:00 p.m. Lily was curled in her hospital bed, her pink prosthetic leaning against the nightstand. She looked up when Jace entered, eyes red-rimmed but dry. I'm not scared, she said immediately. Jace's throat closed. He sat beside her. You should be scared. It's okay. She shook her head stubbornly. The doctor says I'm brave. Brave kids don't cry. Something in Jace shattered. He gently took her hand. Listen to me, Lily. Brave kids cry all the time. His voice cracked. I cried when Mia's dad came to school. Lily's eyes went wide. Asterisk, really? Asterisk, really? He squeezed her fingers. Being brave isn't about not being scared. It's about doing the right thing even when you are. For a long moment, Lily was silent. Then, will you come to my surgery tomorrow? Jace didn't hesitate. Try and stop me. Oak Ridge High, Friday night. Homecoming decorations transformed the gym into a sea of blue and silver. Mia adjusted her dress, dark green, sleeveless, with a slit that showed off her prosthetic, and scanned the crowd. Emily appeared at her side, crutch matching her gold sequin dress. He's here. Mia followed her gaze. Lucas stood near the punch table, flanked by his football lackeys. His dress uniform was immaculate, medals gleaming. No sign of Jace. The music faded as Principal Hargrove took the mic. Before we crown this year's homecoming king and queen, a special announcement. The doors burst open. Jace Donovan walked in, not in a tux, but in his Walter Reed volunteer scrubs. And he wasn't alone. Lily, tiny and fierce in her princess dress, rode on his shoulders, her new sparkly prosthetic leg shining under the disco lights. The room erupted in whispers. Lucas's face darkened. Jace set Lily down carefully and took the mic. "Most of you know me. Some of you think you do." He glanced at Lucas. "I used to be someone I'm not proud of." Silence fell. "But this girl..." He nodded to Lily. "She taught me what real strength looks like." He turned to Mia. "And someone else showed me what real courage looks like." Lucas moved suddenly, shoving through the crowd, only to freeze as Khalid materialized from the shadows, blocking his path. The message was clear. Jace finished simply, "Be better than I was." For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then, Emily started clapping. Mia joined. Soon, the entire gym was roaring, not just for Jace, but for Lily, who beamed and curtsied like the princess she was. Lucas turned and stormed out, his cronies scrambling after him. As the music swelled again, Mia caught Jace's eye across the room. He mouthed 2 words. "Thank you." Mia just smiled. The morning after homecoming, Mia woke to the sound of her father's voice downstairs. Sharp, urgent, words clipped in that way they only got when something was very wrong. She grabbed her prosthetic and hopped to the railing, straining to listen. Confirmed it was him? Khalid's voice carried up the stairs. A pause. Then her mother's quieter response. The nurses said he showed up right after visiting hours ended. They only realized something was off when... Mia didn't wait to hear the rest. She was already halfway down the stairs. What happened? Her parents turned. Khalid's face was granite. Lily's surgery was moved up. Jace was with her last night when someone tampered with her for. Mia's stomach dropped. Is she alive? Her mother handed over a phone showing a news headline, "Veteran's daughter targeted in hospital attack." They caught it in time, but Khalid was already strapping on his shoulder holster. "I'm going to the hospital." "Stay here." Mia grabbed her jacket. Like hell. Walter Reed, 8:17 a.m. The pediatric ward was swarming with MPs and hospital security. Mia spotted Jace immediately, slumped in a chair outside Lily's room, still wearing his scrubs from the night before. His knuckles were raw, split open. He looked up as they approached, eyes hollow. "They gave her something to make her sleep. They don't know." His voice cracked. "They don't know if there'll be brain damage." Khalid didn't react outwardly, but Mia saw the muscle in his jaw twitch. "Who did this?" Jace's hands clenched. "They wore scrubs and a mask. But I got one good hit in." He held up his bloody knuckles. Landed right on his dog tags. Mia's breath caught. "Military." Khalid turned to a passing nurse. "Security footage?" The nurse shook her head. Camera outside her room was disabled. "Just like at your daughter's school." The unspoken connection hung in the air. Mia's phone buzzed. A text from Emily. "Turn on Channel 5. The waiting room TV was already tuned to the local news. The district attorney's face filled the screen, his expression grave. Asterisk, tragic incident at Walter Reed underscores the need for stronger protections for our veterans' families. As of this morning, I've opened an official investigation into security lapses at military medical facilities. Asterisk. Jace made a strangled noise. He's using this. That bastard. Khalid's phone rang. He stepped away, speaking too low for them to hear. When he returned, his expression was darker than Mia had ever seen. "We need to go." Mia balked. "But Lily." "Now." Something in his tone left no room for argument. The car, 8:42 a.m. Khalid drove with lethal precision, cutting through traffic like it was a war zone. "Dad, what the hell is going on?" Mia demanded. He waited until they were stopped at a red light to answer. "That was Colonel Grant. Lucas didn't come home last night." Mia's blood ran cold. "You think he..." "I think someone wants us to think he did." Khalid's grip tightened on the wheel. The district attorney moved too fast. That press conference was prepped hours before the attack. Mia's mind raced. "You think Jace's father set this up?" Khalid didn't answer. His phone buzzed again. An encrypted message. He scanned it. then abruptly changed lanes. Change of plans. An abandoned warehouse. 9:13 a.m. The building looked derelict from the outside, but the interior was anything but. Computers lined makeshift desks, maps and photos pinned to every available surface. And in the center, Emily Torres stood over a bank of monitors, her crutch leaning against the chair beside her. She didn't turn as they entered. "You're late." Mia stared. Emily. The girl who'd been too shy to spar without apologizing now typed commands with the confidence of a CIA analyst. "I've been tracking the DA's communications since homecoming." She spun a monitor around. "Look." Security footage showed the district attorney meeting with a man in uniform. Colonel Grant. The timestamp read 3:17 a.m. Before the attack. Khalid studied the footage. "Where's Lucas?" Emily's fingers flew across the keyboard. "That's the problem." She pulled up a GPS map. "His phone last pinged here." Mia leaned in. "That's his father's office," Khalid finished grimly. Emily nodded. "And 10 minutes ago, the DA filed a missing persons report, claiming Lucas was kidnapped by persons unknown." The pieces clicked together with horrible clarity. "They're framing us," Mia breathed. Khalid was already moving toward the door. "Emily, lock this down." "Mia." The warehouse door burst open. Jay stood in the doorway, panting, his face ashen. "They just arrested my father." Silence. Then, what? Jay stumbled forward, clutching a folded newspaper. "It's all over the news. They're saying he conspired to hurt Lily to distract from his failing campaign." His hands shook. They found evidence on his computer. Khalid took the paper. The headline blared. "DA arrested in veteran hospital attack. Son missing." Emily spun back to her computers. "This doesn't make sense. Why would he?" "Because someone wanted him out of the way." Khalid's voice was ice. "And we just walked into their trap." As if on cue, Mia's phone buzzed with a breaking news alert. Arrest warrant issued for retired Special Forces operative Khalid Carter in connection with Lucas Grant disappearance. Jace made a choked noise. "Oh God!" Emily slammed her fist on the desk. "We need to find Lucas. Now." Mia turned to her father, but he was already moving, yanking cords from computers, shoving files into a duffel. "Dad, listen carefully." Khalid gripped her shoulders. "You and Emily disappear. Jace goes back to the hospital. You're his alibi." Mia's throat tightened. "What about you?" For the first time in her life, her father hesitated. "Then, I have to finish this." The sound of approaching sirens cut through the air. The sirens grew louder as Khalid shoved a burner phone into Mia's hand. "Stay off the grid. Watch for my signal." Emily was already wiping hard drives, her fingers flying across keyboards. "I can buy us 12 minutes before they trace this location." Jay stood frozen in the doorway, his face pale under the fluorescent lights. "This isn't right. My father's a bastard, but he wouldn't." "Not now." Khalid checked the chamber of his sidearm before tucking it away. "Mia, the safe house in Fairfax. You remember the code?" She nodded, her throat tight. The sirens wailed closer. Khalid grabbed his go bag and moved to the back exit. Just before he disappeared into the shadows, he turned back. "Trust no one." Then he was gone. Fairfax Safe House. 11:37 p.m. The safe house turned out to be a crumbling duplex tucked behind an auto repair shop. Mia punched in the code, her mother's birthday in reverse, and the lock clicked open. Inside was sparse. A couch, a table, and walls lined with maps and newspaper clippings. Emily let out a low whistle. "Your dad's been busy." Mia ignored her, heading straight for the landline phone. She dialed Walter Reed's main line from memory. "Pediatric ward, please." A pause. Then, "I'm sorry, that patient is no longer accepting calls." Mia's blood ran cold. "Since when?" "As of 2,100 hours. She hung up slowly. "Lily's gone." Jace, who had been pacing near the window, froze. "What do you mean gone?" Before Mia could answer, Emily cursed. "Guys, you need to see this." She turned her laptop screen toward them. A live news feed showed Colonel Grant at a press conference. His uniform crisp, his face the picture of grief. "No stone unturned to find my son," he intoned. Asterisk, "and to bring those responsible to justice." Asterisk. The camera panned to reveal a wheelchair-bound figure beside him. Lily, her eyes glassy from sedation, her sparkly prosthetic replaced with a standard-issue model. Jace made a strangled noise. "They're using her." Mia's phone buzzed. Unknown number. The text read, "Check the Dropbox." She lunged for Emily's laptop. "Can you access?" Already on it. Emily's fingers flew across the keys. A password prompt appeared. She cracked it in 8 seconds. The folder contained 3 files. 1. A military incident report dated 12 years ago. Asterisk Operation Steel Dawn. Asterisk. 2. Security footage of Colonel Grant and the district attorney shaking hands in an underground parking garage. 3. A live feed of Lucas Grant, bound to a chair in what looked like a storage unit, his face bruised but alert. Jace inhaled sharply. "That's my father's fishing cabin." Emily zoomed in on the timestamp. This was recorded today. Mia opened the operation file and froze. The mission summary was heavily redacted, but 2 names stood out clear as day. Team lead, Colonel M. Grant. Contractor, K. Carter. At the bottom, a handwritten note. "They lied to us both." Interstate 95. 1:22 a.m. Khalid drove without headlights, navigating backroads by memory. The dossier on the passenger seat weighed heavier than any weapon. He'd known this day would come, had prepared for it, had warned command what would happen if they buried Steel Dawn. His phone buzzed, the encrypted line. "You're making a mistake." Colonel Grant's voice was steel-wrapped in silk. "Walk away now, and I'll forget you were involved." Khalid adjusted his grip on the wheel. "Where's the boy?" A pause. Then, "You always were sentimental." The colonel's tone shifted. "You really think I'd hurt my own son?" The lie was so blatant it was almost amusing. Khalid glanced at the live feed still running on his dashboard tablet. Lucas, gagged now, struggling against his bonds. "You hurt Lily," Khalid said simply. Grant's voice hardened. "That was your fault. If you just stayed gone. You framed an innocent man. Poisoned a child. For what? A pension. For justice." The colonel's composure cracked. "You think you're the only one who lost people that day? My entire unit." He cut himself off. Khalid saw his opening. "Then you know what comes next." He ended the call. The fishing cabin. 2:47 a.m. Lucas Grant had never known real fear until tonight. The ropes cut into his wrists, the gag choked him, but worse was the waiting. The certainty that whatever his father was doing, it wasn't to save him. The door creaked open. Lucas braced himself, only to freeze when Mia Carter stepped into the dim light, her prosthetic clicking against the wooden floor. Behind her stood Jace and some Latina girl he didn't recognize. "You've got to be kidding me," Lucas mumbled around the gag. Mia ripped it off. "Talk fast." Lucas worked his jaw. "You're dead. All of you. My father will." "Your father drugged a 7-year-old, Jace snarled. "To frame mine." The girl, Emily, knelt beside Lucas's chair. "We know about Steel Dawn." Lucas went very still. Mia leaned in. "What happened 12 years ago?" For a long moment, Lucas said nothing. Then, "You really don't know?" He barked a laugh. "Your dad didn't tell you?" Jace grabbed his shirt. Asterisk enough games. Asterisk. Lucas's smile was all teeth. Ask him what really happened the day he left the military. A gunshot rang out in the distance. Then another. Mia's head snapped up. "Dad!" She was out the door before anyone could stop her. The lake. 2:58 a.m. Khalid moved through the trees like a shadow, his sidearm drawn. The colonel had always favored the docks for wet work, easy disposal. He spotted Grant's silhouette against the moonlit water, dragging something heavy toward the pier. No sign of crack. A branch snapped behind him. Khalid spun, just as Mia barreled into him from the side. The bullet meant for his head whizzed past, embedding in a tree. Asterisk down. Asterisk. Khalid shoved her behind cover as return fire peppered their position. Across the clearing, Colonel Grant took aim. Boom. The shot came from behind them. Grant staggered, clutching his shoulder. Jay stepped from the tree lean, Khalid's backup pistol smoking in his hands. His voice shook. "You hurt Lily." Grant laughed, even as blood seeped through his fingers. "You don't have the guts, boy." Jace's finger tightened on the trigger. "Don't." Khalid's command cut through the night. "He's not worth it." The colonel smirked. "Still following orders, Carter?" Even after. Khalid moved faster than Mia could track. One moment he was beside her. The next, he had Grant pinned against a tree, his knife at the man's throat. "Last chance," Khalid growled. "Tell them why." Grant's eyes darted to Mia. "Then, because of her." Silence. Khalid's blade didn't waver. "Explain." The colonel spat blood. "Steel Dawn was a cleanup op. Your team walked into an ambush because command let you. Collateral damage." His gaze locked on Mia. "Except she survived. And you wouldn't let it go." The pieces clicked together with horrible clarity. Mia's birth defect. The mysterious accident that took her leg. The way Khalid had always been watching, waiting for the past to catch up. Jace made a strangled noise. "You tried to kill a baby?" Grant's smile was ghastly. "I followed orders." Khalid's knife pressed deeper. "And tonight was justice." The colonel's eyes gleamed. "You took my son from me, so I took yours." Mia's blood ran cold. "What?" The sound of screeching tires cut through the night. Emily's voice shouted from the cabin. "Asterisk incoming." Asterisk. Khalid didn't hesitate. He slammed the colonel's head against the tree, knocking him unconscious, then grabbed Mia's arm. "Asterisk, move." Asterisk. They ran just as floodlights lit up the cabin, SWAT teams pouring out of black SUVs. At the tree line, Lucas waited, his bonds cut, his face unreadable. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then he jerked his chin toward the woods. "There's a boat. Go." Jace stared. "You're letting us?" Lucas's jaw tightened. "Tell Lily. Tell her I'm sorry." Then he turned and walked toward the lights, hands raised. The boat cut through pre-dawn fog like a knife, its motor barely a whisper. Mia clutched the dossier in her lap. The words Operation Steel Dawn seared into her vision even in the dark. Khalid steered toward a derelict dock, his eyes constantly scanning the shoreline. "We have 6 hours max before they expand the search radius." Jace, hunched in the bow with his arms wrapped around his knees, looked up sharply. "Where do we even go now? They've got my dad, the colonel, half the damn military." "Language," Emily muttered automatically from where she was rewiring a burner phone. Mia ignored them, flipping through the file again. Grainy photos showed a bombed-out village, soldiers in unfamiliar uniforms, and, her breath caught, a medical tent with a crib in the corner. Her crib. Khalid's hand covered the image. "Not now." The boat bumped against the dock. Abandoned summer camp. 6:13 a.m. The cabins were rotting, the paint peeling, but the chain-link fence was new, as was the armed guard at the gate. Emily approached first, hands raised. The guard, a grizzled man missing 3 fingers, nodded and stepped aside. Jace gaped. "What the hell is this place?" "Safe harbor," Khalid said simply. Inside the main lodge, a dozen veterans looked up from their work, some missing limbs, others with scars no uniform could cover. A woman with a prosthetic arm stood. "Khalid, heard you stirred up the hornet's nest." Mia's head whipped toward her father. "You planned this." "Contingency." He accepted a steaming mug from another vet. "Meet the real survivors of Steel Dawn." The pieces clicked together. These weren't just random soldiers, they were the ones who'd known, who'd seen what happened that day. Emily sat at a computer station that looked wildly out of place in the rustic lodge. "I'm accessing the Pentagon database." Jace choked on his coffee. "Asterisk how?" "Asterisk." She didn't look up. My dad was NSA. Taught me a few things before they discharged him for whistleblowing. Mia stared at her friend. Asterisk really asterisk looked at her for the first time. The way she held herself, the way she hacked systems like breathing. You're not just some girl with a crutch, Mia realized aloud. Emily's smile was bitter. And you're not just some amputee. Welcome to the club. Walter Reed, 9:47 a.m. Lily's new room was guarded by MPs. Mia watched from the parking lot through binoculars, Jace fidgeting beside her. This is insane. We'll never get past. Not we. Khalid adjusted his baseball cap. Part of a janitor's uniform stolen 20 minutes prior. Me. He walked straight past security with a mop bucket and a limp no one would question at a VA hospital. Mia counted the minutes. At 9:53, the fire alarm blared. Chaos erupted. Room 417, 9:56 a.m. Lily sat up in bed when Khalid entered, her eyes wide but alert. Where's Jace? Safe. Khalid knelt beside her. I need you to listen very carefully. She nodded, suddenly serious beyond her years. The men who hurt you, they're going to ask you questions. About me. About Mia. Lily's small jaw set. I won't tell. Khalid shook his head. I need you to do tell. But only this. He pressed a slip of paper into her hand. Can you remember? Lily unfolded it, sounding out the words. Steal. Dawn. Good girl. Khalid squeezed her shoulder. Now scream. Lily took a deep breath and let out an ear-piercing shriek. MPs burst in seconds later to find a terrified child and an empty janitor's closet. The slip of paper fluttered to the floor unnoticed. Pentagon, 1:15 p.m. The news broke at lunchtime. Every major network carried the same image. Lily's tiny hand holding those two damning words. The hashtag #StealDawn trended worldwide in under an hour. Emily monitored it all from 3 laptops simultaneously. They're scrambling. The White House just announced an investigation. Jace, who'd been pacing for hours, finally stopped. What about my dad? A new alert popped up. Emily's breath caught. They're dropping all charges. Mia should have felt relieved. Instead, dread coiled in her gut. This isn't over. Khalid checked his watch. No, it's just beginning. Senate hearing. 3 days later. The cameras flashed non-stop as the district attorney took the stand. His tailored suit unable to hide the hollows under his eyes. I was misled, he claimed. Colonel Grant assured me the operation was bullshit. The shout came from the gallery. A one-legged veteran Khalid had served with. Security dragged him out, but the damage was done. Mia watched from the safehouse TV, her father's hand on her shoulder. They'll spin it, Khalid said quietly. Rewrite history. But the truth is out now. On screen, a senator held up Lily's note. Then explain this. The district attorney's face went ashen. Oak Ridge High, 2 weeks later. Mia's prosthetic clicked against the freshly waxed floors as she walked into school that Monday. The whispers followed her as always. But now, they were different. Saw her on CNN. Father's a hero. They tried to kill her when she was a baby. Jace fell into step beside her, his Letterman jacket gone, replaced by a simple hoodie. Lily's back home. Doctors say she'll make a full recovery. Mia nodded. And Lucas, facing court-martial. His dad's already in Leavenworth. Jace hesitated. They offered my dad a plea deal. He took it. They turned the corner. And stopped. The hallway bulletin board, usually covered in football posters, now displayed a blown-up newspaper photo. Khalid carrying Mia from the wreckage 12 years ago, his face streaked with blood and tears. Someone had spray-painted hero across it in bold red letters. Emily limped up beside them, surveying their stunned expressions. What? You didn't think I did that, did you? A freshman neither of them recognized, a skinny kid with a hearing aid, nodded shyly from down the hall before disappearing into the crowd. Jace exhaled slowly. Guess things are different now, huh? Mia adjusted her backpack, feeling the weight of her father's dossier inside. Not different. Just honest. The first bell rang. They walked to class together. Final epilogue. Walter Reed. 6 months later. Lily won the 50-yard dash on her new running blade. Her pink hair ribbons flying. Jace, now her official big brother, cheered loudest from the sidelines. Emily documented everything for her NSA hacker-turned-journalist blog. And Khalid stood beside Mia at the finish line, his hand on her shoulder, both of them whole. Both of them free.